Good afternoon. Thank you for taking a few moments in the Word with me today. Yesterday, in our morning service, I taught on altars. I may be doing this again Thursday. We have been spending much time at the altar in our services, in worship and in prayer. And the Lord had told me Sunday morning in my prayer time, He said that He's transforming Grace Fellowship of Louisville at the altars. And I truly believe that's what's happening, that we as a church are being transformed. But altars have always held a significant place in my life, and I'm sure your life too. I know that I was born again at an altar. I was baptized with the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues at the altar. I could take you to the First Assembly of God Church in Toledo, Ohio. I was 14 years old, and if they haven't changed the sanctuary, I could take you to the very spot I was kneeling when I received my prayer language. I've been healed at the altar, baptized with fire at the altar. I was married at the altar. I dedicated my children at the altar, and so on and so forth. And you know, we look through the Word and we see things like in Genesis 8:20, it says Noah built an altar to the Lord and took of every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings unto the altar. And remember, Noah had just come off the ark. He and his family's life had been saved. This is a new beginning in the earth. And Noah has built an altar, and he's offering thanksgiving to the Lord for his protection in this new beginning. And it's at this place of the altar that God makes a covenant with Noah. So it's an altar where he meets with God and worships God, but it's also a memorial. You see that so often in the Old Testament in particular, that where there's an altar, it was either a sacrifice was offered up or incense was offered up. It was a place of meeting with God, and yet it was also a place of memorial. And these altar places in my life have marked me. They're a memorial for me. You know, in 1 Peter 2:5, it says, you also as living stones are built up a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. And each and every one of us, when we come before the Lord and pray, that's a place of altar for us. When we come before Him to praise and worship, that's a spiritual sacrifice. As we are there at the altar interceding, it's a spiritual sacrifice. We are a holy priesthood who are offering up spiritual sacrifices to the Lord. Our offering, you may put it in a bucket, but keep in mind you're actually bringing it to the altar before the Lord, and it's a sweet smelling savor to Him. In Romans chapter 12 and verse 1, it says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Where does it all begin? Us presenting our body as a living sacrifice. Note that we're a living sacrifice, so we can crawl off the altar very easily. But I believe we're to present ourselves before the Lord as a living sacrifice daily. Lord, here are my hands, here are my feet. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? Lord, here's my mouth. What do you want me to say? Here are my eyes and my ears. What do you want me to take in today? Lord, I offer myself up as a living sacrifice. And in doing so, we'll not be conformed to this world, but rather we will be not conformed. The kingdom's not a kingdom of conforming. It's a kingdom of transformation. We will be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And then and only then can we prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I still believe there's something about the altar, a physical altar. Just sometimes, whether it's for worship, intercession, consecration, or meeting face to face with God, that we sometimes need to come to that altar place, whether it be in the church or at home, but a place where we kneel before the Lord and we meet with Him. I love you, and I look forward to being with you again on Wednesday.